Plus, Donald Trump is facing a new legal battle in New York.
And in sports, a big night of high school volleyball has everyone talking. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Joe Collins.
And I'm Madison Moore. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Nan Whaley, the Democratic candidate for governor, holds a town hall at Ohio University. Earlier today, she spoke with students and community members about abortion access.
Newswatch reporter Andre Norrells joins us live at Walter Hall, where the town hall took place. Andre, how was the turnout?
Well, Joe, right now this space is pretty quiet, but earlier today, dozens of people gathered in that room to hear from Nan Whaley. Though other topics came up at this event, the main focus
Well, we go everywhere talking about this issue. It's important, but Athens is a key place, not only because it's a college town, but also.
We apologize for the technical difficulties. Whaley and Governor DeWine won't be debating each other before the election. The Ohio Debate Commission called off the gubernatorial and Senate debates following DeWine and Republican nominees for the Senate, J.D. Vance's failure to accept their invitation by Tuesday's 5 p.m. deadline. Dan Malthrop, president of the commission's board, says, quote, democracy is paying the price by the debates being canceled. The Republican National Committee issued a statement in response on Tuesday accusing Executive Director Jim Miller-Simon of, quote, a long history of anti-Republican rhetoric and activism. Both Democratic gubernatorial nominee Nan Whaley and U.S. Representative Tim Ryan, the Democratic Senate nominee, accepted their invitations. In more election news, QAnon follower and podcaster will officially be on this year's Ohio ballot this fall. Yesterday, the Ohio Supreme Court ordered Terpa Sahore Morris to be put on the ballot for Ohio Secretary of State. Morris supports policies such as a return to the paper ballot system and ban of all voting machines in Ohio. The Columbus Dispatch reports earlier this year, Morris failed to make it on the Republican ballot in the spring, but is now running as an independent. Ohio Republican Party Executive Director Justin Biz filed a challenge questioning the validity of 35 of Morris's 5,010 signatures. The Ohio Supreme Court approved 27 of the signatures following an appeal. Ohio requires 5,000 signatures to get onto the ballot.
It's the last day of summer and we are ending it hot. As you can see here in Athens right now, it's currently 87 degrees, but we did get up to the 90s earlier, so it was just an overall hot, humid, muggy day, and we are expecting some rain later on this evening, which I'll touch on. But as you can see here at our local radar, we have not seen any of that rain here in Athens yet today. We do have some light to medium rainfall coming in from the northwest throughout the day, and some medium to heavy rain south of us in the Ironton and Huntington area. But again, none of that has touched us here in Athens yet. And as you can see here, according to our current temperatures, we are seeing a wide range of low 80s to low 90s. Here in Athens, we're looking at 88 degrees, and north of us in Lancaster, we're looking at 84, and in Wilmington 91. As we continue to go north in Columbus, we're looking at 86 degrees, and south of us in Huntington, we are looking at 90. So we have been seeing some hotter days here, but I'll talk about whether or not that'll get hotter around here or cooler in my full weather forecast. The city of Athens may pay less than initial estimates for a new fire station. The 10.6-acre lot along Stimson Avenue appraised for around $202,000. Original estimates put the value at $350,000 to $550,000. City Service Director Andy Stone says restrictions placed by Ohio University for the property's use decreased its value. City Council plans to hold a special session next week on an ordinance would set aside $600,000 to buy the land and begin site preparation. WUB reporter David Forrester has more on this story in our online newsroom.
The West Virginia Department of Transportation is taking applications for workers in Marshall County. The department says the openings are for entry-level transportation engineering technician trainees and bridge inspectors. Marshall County will host a hiring event from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on October 18th at their headquarters in Moundsville. The department says applicants should apply online at the WVDOT careers page. Trump faces a new legal challenge after the New York Attorney General sues the former president. Plus, Russia is deploying more troops to Ukraine. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
No! On Finding Your Roots, Lee Daniels.
There were certain things we just didn't talk about.
And Rebecca Hall.
I just couldn't shake the feeling that there was something being hidden.
Family History reveals a murder mystery.
That's a lot to take in.
It's complicated.
And an indigenous deception.
Your grandfather was a chief.
It's truly mind-blowing.
Plus, a DNA match.
Hey, cousin.
What?
Tuesday at 8 on WOUB.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
As Foreign Service officers, you are Central Americans. People abroad will think better or worse of the United States because of what you do.
The State Department had the well-deserved reputation of being extremely elitist. It was pale male and Yale.
The fact of the matter was, they could never conceive that a black man could ever be an ambassador.
How did these parks change America?
I'm Jeffrey Baer, and I'll be your guide
as we stroll through 10 game-changing city parks, from the squares of Savannah to Central Park to the San Antonio Riverwalk and more.
Find out which great green spaces made the list
of 10 parks that changed America.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back. Donald Trump is being sued by New York over misleading asset valuations. The more than 200-page lawsuit alleges the fraud touches all aspects on the Trump business.
According to the suit, the Trump organization deceived lenders, insurers, and tax authorities by inflating the value of properties with misleading appraisals. New York Attorney General Letitia James alleges Trump lied over 200 times over the course of 10 years about the values of his assets. Also named the lawsuits are his children, Donald Trump Jr., Eric, and Ivanka Trump, among others. The state is seeking $250 million and to permanently bar Trump and his children from serving as the director of a business registered in New York State. It also aims to cancel the Trump organization's corporate certificate, which, if granted by a judge, could force the company to stop operating in New York. The New York Attorney General calls the crime, quote, the art of the steal.
Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
Trump has previously denied any wrongdoings. He has called the investigation a partisan, quote, witch hunt. Courts might end up deciding the latest dispute over migrants in the U.S. Some Republican governors have been sending them to more Democratic jurisdictions. Amy Kiley has the reaction.
I am very glad that the sheriff chose to open an investigation.
Legal action is brewing over efforts to ship migrants north. Governors in these states have been sending them to areas they call sanctuaries. The president's home state of Delaware got word Florida Governor Ron DeSantis may send migrants there.
Do you have any comment or response to that, sir?
He should come visit. We have a beautiful shoreline.
A sheriff in San Antonio, Texas, is investigating 2 flights that originated there. DeSantis took credit for flying nearly 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard in coastal Massachusetts.
It's up to the authorities on the ground there to figure out what did and didn't happen.
Most of those migrants are part of a class action lawsuit against Florida officials. It alleges organizers used fraudulent tactics to get the migrants on the planes. In a response last night, DeSantis argued participation was voluntary. Some Republicans say ending the Trump administration's Remain in Mexico policy has led to overcrowding.
The facilities along that border in South Texas or even in Arizona and California, they are overwhelmed.
But some Democrats say the governors are using desperate people as political pawns.
This is just disgusting. I think if there are state laws or federal laws that have been broken, that needs to be investigated.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Politicians on both sides agree the bigger problem is what's driving migrants to the U.S. They just don't agree on what to do about it.
The U.S. dollar went up 0.4%, the highest it's been since 2002. The jump happened after Russia said it was calling in 300,000 military reserves, escalating the war in Ukraine. When there's extreme political tension between countries, investors tend to trust the U.S. dollar more. How well the dollar is doing is a comparison to how things are going in other countries. So even though inflation is high, the U.S. economy is faring better. The U.S. job market is solid, and other areas like the service sector are doing well too. But just as Russia's announcement pushed up the value of the dollar, it also pushed up oil prices 2.5%, all because of concerns that our escalating the war could tighten up the oil and gas supply. President Vladimir Putin, in a speech to the Russian people, announces a partial mobilization of citizens, meaning people in the military reserve could be called up. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down Russia's increase in troops and how world leaders are responding.
After setbacks on the battlefield, Russian President Vladimir Putin is responding in a rare national address.
In order to protect our homeland, I think it is necessary to support the decision to partially mobilize citizens of Russian Federation.
The partial mobilization will call up 300,000 citizens in Russia's military reserve. This announcement comes after a successful Ukrainian offensive in the northeastern Kharkiv region. During a speech to the United Nations General Assembly just hours later, President Joe Biden pledged to stand with Ukraine in the face of military escalation.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state. That should make your blood run cold.
The president also calling the Kremlin's move to annex separatist regions in Ukraine a sham in violation of the UN Charter.
Putin claims he had to act because Russia was threatened. But no one threatened Russia.
As more Russian troops are expected to enter the fight, Putin threatened the potential use of nuclear weapons, also raising concerns.
In order to protect our people, in order to protect Russia, we will definitely use all means.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
President Biden, in his speech to the UN, said he is seeing disturbing trends 7 months after the UN Security Council reaffirmed their mission to avoid nuclear conflict. Puerto Rico begins to clean up after Hurricane Fiona batters the island. That story's still ahead.
Temperatures have been rising throughout the day, but will that continue throughout the rest of the week? Find out in my full weather forecast. And if you want more of Newswatch, you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
Week 6 is here, and the action week to week just gets better. On Friday night, the Granville Blue Aces take on the Licking Heights Hornets in our game of the week. The Fairland Dragons travel to Gallia Academy in a test against the undefeated Blue Devils. Plus, tons of action from the TVC Ohio, including a battle between Alexander and Vinton County. So check us out on Friday night at 11:30 p.m. on WOUB. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and gridiron glory.
No!
On Finding Your Roots, Lee Daniels.
There were certain things we just didn't talk about.
And Rebecca Hall.
I just couldn't shake the feeling that there was something being hidden.
Family History reveals a murder mystery.
That's a lot to take in.
It's complicated.
And an indigenous deception.
Your grandfather was a chief.
It's truly mind-blowing.
Plus, a DNA match.
Hey, cousin.
What?
Tuesday at 8 on WOUB.
As Foreign Service officers, you are sample Americans. People abroad will think better or worse of the United States because of what you do.
The State Department had the well-deserved reputation of being extremely elitist. It was pale, male, and Yale.
Fact of the matter was, they could never conceive that a black man could ever be an ambassador.
How did these parks change America?
I'm Jeffrey Baer, and I'll be your guide
as we stroll through 10 game-changing city parks, from the squares of Savannah to Central Park to the San Antonio Riverwalk and more.
Find out which great green spaces made the list
of 10 parks that changed America.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back. Hurricane Fiona, after devastating Puerto Rico, has strengthened to a Category 5 hurricane. Hurricane Fiona is moving north through the Atlantic right now and is expected to pass through Bermuda late Thursday and early Friday. So the U.S. State Department is asking people to reconsider traveling to Bermuda. In a travel advisory Tuesday, the department also authorized family members of government personnel to leave the area because of the potential impact of the hurricane. And I apologize, that is a Category 4 hurricane.
Puerto Rico continues to deal with torrential rain and potentially catastrophic flooding after Hurricane Fiona pounded the island. Jen Sullivan has more on how you can help those affected.
As the damage grows, so does the need in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Fiona left a massive path of destruction.
We are still in the zone of danger and not out and about.
As charities get operations running to address the catastrophe, the Better Business Bureau says be cautious because scammers are also looking to take advantage of the dire situation.
People want to help in any way they can, and sadly, scammers take advantage of that vulnerability to deceive donors.
Grassroots organizations on the island are taking donations to help the over 1 million still without electricity and hundreds of thousands without running water. Organizations like Direct Relief, which is a BBB accredited group with volunteers on the ground, are helping hospitals forced to run on generators.
The Comprehensive Cancer Hospital's generator failed, so they had to, in the middle of the storm, move patients from one hospital to the other.
So before you donate to any charity, the BBB has these 3 tips to protect you and to make sure your money doesn't end up in the wrong hands. 1, do your research and donate to charities directly instead of crowdfunding sites.
If they don't have boots on the ground, how are they going to get your donation to the people who need it the most? Look for experienced charities that can provide fast relief.
2, use a credit card and avoid sending money via peer-to-peer apps. And finally, pay attention to red flags like copycat websites and hard-to-believe claims. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
And now over to Peyton for our full weather.
It may not look or feel like it, but today is actually our last day of summer. Tomorrow's the first day of fall, and it feels like we have traveled back to the 4th of July here in Athens. As you can see here, we hit a temperature high today of 90 degrees. So it has been the hottest day that we have seen in a while with a low of 60. So if you had a chance to get outside this morning, it was much cooler, and we are expected to revisit that later. And we do have a chance of some storms later on, but none of that has hit our area yet. As you can see here, we do have some light to medium rainfall coming in from the northwest and into the southeast past Athens, but again has not hit us yet, but we are supposed to see it later, which I will get to. But here on a wider scale, as you can see here to our regional radar, we do have some light to medium to heavy rain coming in from the northwest across the country and into the southeastern region of Ohio. We haven't seen any of it yet, but we are going to see it this evening. We are expecting to see some showers soon. We are even expecting a possibility of some damaging winds and even some hail. So definitely think about that before we decide whether or not to leave our home tonight. I might be locking myself in. And we do have an overnight low of 60. So if you had a chance to get outside this morning, it's going to feel a little bit like that. And that is all due to the cold front that is coming in tonight, and it is leaving us tomorrow afternoon, as you can see here, and that's bringing in some drier weather, and that with that high pressure moving in, as you can see tomorrow, we have a temperature high of 71 degrees. So that is the lowest high that we have seen in quite some time, and it is partly sunny. So those clouds might deter us from feeling a warm day as we're expecting, and we do have a low of 43. Now those are numbers I haven't seen in the longest time. Nothing below 50s and 60s in a while, and that trend will continue on Friday. As you can see here, it's going to be mostly sunny on Friday with a high of 67 and a low of 49. So what a great way to kick off the first couple days of fall, and that trend is going to continue into Saturday. We're going to see a partly sunny day with a high of 72, so we're bumping up a little bit and a low of 54, and that trend is expected to pause on Sunday. As you can see, we do have a chance of some scattered showers on Sunday. That'll be throughout the afternoon and into the evening, and we're going to bump up into 76, so it's going to be a little bit warmer, but we will not let that rain on our parade, because on Monday that's going to go away. We're going to be back into the low 70s. It's going to be partly sunny with a low of 48, and we're going to continue that into Tuesday. It's going to be mostly sunny with a high of 69 and a low of 45. And on Wednesday, we're going to see a few clouds, and we're going to bump back up to 73 with a low of 48. So get outside, enjoy this last day of summer, and prepare for the first week of fall.
Coming up in sports, the Nelsonville York volleyball team sets its sights on a Tri-Valley Conference title. That story and more when Newswatch returns.
As Foreign Service officers, you are Central Americans. People abroad will think better or worse of the United States because of what you do.
The State Department had the well-deserved reputation of being extremely elitist. It was pale, male, and Yale.
Fact of the matter was, they could never conceive that a black man could ever be an ambassador.
How did these parks change America?
I'm Jeffrey Baer, and I'll be your guide
as we stroll through 10 game-changing city parks, from the squares of Savannah to Central Park to the San Antonio Riverwalk and more.
Find out which great green spaces made the list
of 10 parks that changed America.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
A visionary approach to medicine. The needs of the patient come first. Was invented over 120 years ago.
I couldn't have asked for anything better for her.
I've got another 25, 30 years in front of me for sure.
Faith, hope, and science, those three things are absolutely critical.
You are never alone in your efforts to find an answer to that patient's problem.
Ken Burns presents The Mayo Clinic.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
We care about things that affect the lives of every American.
We are there at the front line
to get to the heart of what really matters in every issue.
This country has not seen this in 80 years.
This extraordinary moment in American history.
You're making such a huge impact.
Trust is at the heart of what we do.
The Nelsonville York volleyball team is on a mission this season. The goal? Win the Tri-Valley Conference title. Newswatch reporter Morgan Anderson has more on their big game against Alexander last night.
A balanced mix of sophomores to seniors and only 2 juniors. There is a tight-knit team chemistry at the core. Senior libero Lindsay Spencer says that the preseason gave the girls connection.
I think that during the summer we had a bunch
bunch of time to start clicking, and like our back row's clicking with our front row, our setters are clicking with our hitters, like everyone's just clicking, so it's really working out great.
But with their conference title goal, the team has been the target of the league, specifically by Alexander. Between a heated atmosphere and some unmistakable player talent, the Lady Buckeyes walked away with a hard-fought win Tuesday to keep their undefeated record. When asked how they felt, one word came to mind: amazing.
Felt like we were mentally prepared for it, and it showed. We got down a few times. The girls' mental toughness came through, and I told them in the locker room they were actually mentally tougher than I was a few times tonight. And I just can't say enough about how they stepped up in a big game and played so well tonight. Very happy.
I feel amazing. Like I couldn't wrap around my head. I knew that we were going to win tonight. You know, just momentum was up, but I did not think that we were going to pull it in 3. So I'm glad we did. We came out strong.
The Lady Buckeyes aren't taking their wins for granted, though, placing a heavy emphasis on staying mentally strong to keep their streak alive, knowing games like Alexander's are one of many.
It's a target, and we have a big target in our locker room, and we tell them, don't let the other team hit the target, all right? Because we know, you know, as long as we're in first place in the league, we're going to be the target that everybody comes after. And as long as, you know, we keep being mentally strong and playing to our ability, hopefully we keep having teams miss the target for the rest of the season.
For the Lady Buckeyes, every league game is a big one, and they go in ready to take care of business. From connection to competition, they have turned heads on the court this season. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Morgan Anderson.
The Buckeyes are back in action at Warren tonight. Game time is set for 7 p.m. Ohio football is back in Athens Saturday for its first home game since September 3rd. Ohio plays host to the Fordham Rams in its final match before heading into MAC play next weekend. The Rams come into Saturday's contest with an undefeated record through 3 games and have averaged 50 points per contest. Ohio head coach Tim Albin's approach of playing as many people as possible will be key in this game and as the season progresses.
Couple games we've got to play a lot of people. I think that's going to be huge in developing depth as we start this stretch with Fordham and then getting into league play.
The Bobcats look to even their record at 2-2 before taking on Kent State next Saturday. And guys, Bobcats' first home game in 3 weeks. Hopefully we should have a good crowd this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be Parents' Weekend. It's going to be a good opportunity for students to go to a game with their parents.
Yes, are your all's parents joining for the festivities?
Oh, yes, they are.
Nice.
And now we're going to toss it over to Peyton for a look at final weather.
Thanks, Joe. It's our last day and our last night of summer here in Athens. We are looking at an overnight low of 60 degrees with a chance of storms tonight, so definitely keep that in mind. We could even see some damaging winds and even hail, so definitely think about that when you're making your plans. And tomorrow we're looking at a high of 71 with a low of 43, so we are really cooling down tomorrow, and it will be partly sunny, and we are seeing this trend throughout the weekend and into next week. So enjoy your last day of summer.
Thanks, Peyton. And finally tonight, NASA is sharing a stunning view of Neptune and its rings taken by its James Webb Telescope. It's the clearest view of the planet in more than 30 years. The telescope is providing a crisp new view of the planet's rings, and it's the first time NASA has seen them in infrared. The telescope picked up several bright, narrow rings as well as the fainter dust bands. As for that bright light in the upper middle of the image, that's not a star. NASA says it's Neptune's large and unusual moon, Triton, which reflects an average of 70% of the sunlight hitting it. And as we mentioned before, it is the last day of summer, and I cannot wait for it to be fall.
Me either. I love fall. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Madison Moore.
And I'm Joe Collins. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. For Peyton Simchek and Darius Sethna, have a great night.
Support comes from Hocking Valley Bank, offering